Welcome back, everyone. I wanted to hop on here and record a mini episode just because the astrology of Virgo season, which we just entered, and also eclipse season, they're very aligned this year, is incredible. And I've tried sharing about it in different ways. I have a monthly or seasonal newsletter where I read the skies, or I call it the quality of time report. I shared a little bit on Instagram, but there's so much potency and magic and synchronicity in what I'm observing in the astrology of this time that I really wanted to speak into it, because it's not just about Virgo season or September. It's really about the full year of 2025 and also this magical and very fateful time, or karmic time, that we're living in. So bear with me as I try and break down a lot of complexity and sacred geometry for the everyday person, the everyday human. So what am I even talking about? In astrology, whether it's NASA or it's your favorite astrologer that's looking at the planets and the heavens, the heavenly bodies as we call them, and measuring what's happening in the skies, we always have 34.5 roughly days that are called eclipse seasons. And what's happening during an eclipse season is that the orbits of the sun and the moon are lining up in such a way that in those 34 and a half or so days, if there is a new moon or full moon event, it's an eclipse. There are rare windows where we have 3 eclipses. It is possible to have 3 lunar events, new or full moons, in the 34 and a half days. We don't have that this year in this eclipse season. But we do have a close second, which is that within the 29 or 30 days of Virgo, we actually have 3 lunar events. We have 2 new moons and 1 full moon in Virgo season, and that happens every so often. So what are the significances of eclipses for us? So there's actually something in astrology called the lunar nodes. And the lunar nodes is my favorite part of doing a birth chart reading. They're called the nodes of destiny. I always focus on them. And they indicate wisdom about what we've mastered in past lives and what we're looking to learn or master in this life. So the lunar nodes are a calculation between the point of the sun and the moon when you're born. And the lunar nodes are connected to eclipse season, in that eclipse seasons can only, basically we enter an eclipse season when the sun comes within a certain number of degrees. It's about 17 degrees with the current lunar nodes. The lunar nodes are shifting 365 days a year as the sun and the moon do their dance. And as the lunar nodes shift, they go through each constellation. One is on one side, one is on the other. So they're in opposite signs. And it takes around 18 months for them to go through a full 30-degree constellation. What that means is that every 18 months, the lunar nodes shift and we move into a different focus or set of lessons about our destiny in the collective. So right now we're in a 18-month portal of lunar nodes in Pisces and Virgo. And because of that, our eclipse season is in Pisces and Virgo. So there's actually 2 eclipse seasons every year. We had one during Pisces, and now we're moving into the second during Virgo. We have a full moon lunar eclipse coming up on September 7th, and we have a new moon solar eclipse on September 21st. Why does it feel so important this year? The short version of this is that in numerology, 2025, when you add the digits, it becomes a number 9 year. Number 9 in numerology is the end of a cycle. It's a time of closure, a time of endings before a new beginning. That matches a lot of powerful and karmic planetary transits that are happening this year. I teach more about this in webinars that I give. They're free to the public. I offer these master classes 2 to 3 times a year. I have one coming up on September 12th. If you want to go to my website and learn more about it. For the purposes of this mini episode, I'm going to talk about why 2025 is potent with respect to astrological transits. When we look at astrology, we look at the 10 heavenly bodies. That's the sun and the moon, which we call luminaries, and the 8 major planets. The 3 outermost planets, which are furthest away from the sun, have the longest orbits. They also have the most potent effect on what we know as the collective consciousness or collective unconscious even. Pluto, which is the furthest away, has a 248-year orbit of the sun. That means it spends an average of 21 years in each sign. The next furthest is Neptune, which has a 165-year orbit of the sun. Uranus is the next furthest, which is 84 years to circle the sun. What we're experiencing between 2024, 2025, and 2026 is that all 3 of those planets have synchronized to shift into new signs and new energies at the same time. So the outer measurement of that is a 27-month period where the first planet to shift, which was Pluto, dipped into Aquarius, dipped out, then made its way forward. The last planet to shift will be Uranus, moving into Gemini. In between, we have Neptune moving into Aries. Within 18 months, we have a permanent new dynamic. What do I mean by that? When these outer planets move into new signs, they're activating a new reality on Earth. And can you imagine how many years it's taken for those cycles to line up so precisely in such a short amount of time? So 2025 is the year that Neptune and Uranus moved into these new signs. We also have Saturn, the next furthest planet, which has just under a 30-year orbit of the sun. Very synchronized in this short window of time, and actually moving conjunct, which means alongside Neptune, into Aries. This year, 2025, is the year that Neptune and Saturn are leaving Pisces and moving into Aries together at the same time. Why is this a big deal? Because Pisces is the last sign in the zodiac. So they're not switching signs, they're completing a full cycle in the zodiac, both of them. For Neptune, that's a 165-year cycle. For Saturn, that's a 29-point-something year cycle. What a way to end a 9-year cycle, or a number 9 year, with Saturn, the planet of karma, and Neptune, the planet of disillusionment, of dissolving, of reimagining, rebirth in a way. Neptune is the planet that rules the sign of Pisces. To finish the zodiac and move through the final degrees of Pisces together and restart in Aries. Okay? That's a little bit of what I'm going to sprinkle in terms of the outer planetary transits. The one more thing I'll tease, and you can learn more about this in my webinars. When I prepared this presentation, I gave the first of a 2-part webinar series last November, end of 2024. I called it Collective Awakening 2025, but as I worked on the presentation, the framing that came through to me is the dawning of cosmic consciousness. What does that mean? In the same way that the last 10 to 12, maybe even 15 years has been the dawning of Earth-based consciousness, with the pandemic, with our awakening to our food sources, our land, Earth, climate, the climate crisis, I believe the next 10 to 12 years will be the dawning of cosmic consciousness. An awareness of the stars, the heavens, the planetary orbits in a much more detailed and precise way, and of our place in the solar system and in the universe, in the galaxy and in the universe. You have to watch my webinars or come to my masterclass to learn more about that. But it's very connected to this shift of those three outer planets out of earth and water signs and into fire and air signs, which represent spirit and the heavens. Fast forward to where we are now. I'm recording this at the end of August, just before September, which is the 9th month of a 9th year. And during that 9th month in the 9th year, we have our 2 eclipses. Now, remember, I said that eclipses, solar and lunar alignment, are all about destiny, like the lunar nodes in each person's chart. It's all about destiny. We collectively are going through an 18-month window of lunar nodes in Pisces and Virgo. So at the same time that Saturn and Neptune are finishing up a karmic cycle at the end of Pisces, the lunar nodes of destiny have been crossing over that transit. This is very, very special. And what's even more special is that in the 9th month of the 9th year, the placements of these eclipses are very precisely all about the karmic endings and the new beginnings. And I'm just going to focus on one for today. And again, you can follow up or find me in my masterclass or request a replay if you want to go deeper into this. But what I'm going to focus on today is actually the second eclipse. It's a new moon, which is a solar eclipse, and it's at the final degree of Virgo. It's at 29 degrees Virgo, which is the last degrees. Essentially, 30 degrees Virgo is 0 degrees Libra. Why am I focusing on this? The new moon solar eclipse at 29 degrees Virgo has the sacred geometry of being opposite, and opposition in astrology is 180 degrees opposite. That 29 degrees Pisces, the last degree of Pisces and the last degree of the zodiac. That is the final degree that Neptune and Saturn have been going over this year as they transition out of the old into the new cycle. They're born again into Aries, and they've just gone over in retrograde, and they're going to move forward and pass again. And what does 29 degrees Pisces represent? It represents the one becoming the all and all of our individuality. The 29th degree and the 0 degree of any sign are known as critical degrees. At a critical degree, it's like we're learning the entire lesson of that sign. So at the 29th degree, and some of you should check your birth charts. I've done many readings for people who have placements at the 29th degree. I have a couple of those myself. You're learning the entirety of lessons. You're learning complete and utter mastery of one sign or one cycle before you move into the next. Collectively, us moving through the 29th degree of Pisces is not just us learning mastery of the entirety of Pisces, but Pisces is the final sign, and people describe it, it's the 12th house, as all of the signs, the entire zodiac in one. So what does that mean? That means that we're not just learning the entirety of lessons and all the karma, all the karmic purging of 30 degrees of Pisces. We're doing it for the entire zodiac, for the 360 degrees of the heavens that we experience year round. We're doing it in this one moment. It comes to a peak at the sacred new moon, the 21st of September. For my Jewish friends, for people who are into Kabbalah or drawn to it or study it, what does that mean? This is the new moon that starts the new Jewish year. But this isn't just a new Jewish year. It's a new beginning that's much deeper and much bigger and much more karmic and way more ancestral than 1 year. It really truly is. It feels like a rebirth to me of life as we know it on Earth. I do believe, and I've heard this from other people, and it really resonates, that there is a new consciousness being born, and there are multiple timelines. A lot of people are talking about a split in 2025 where there's a new and the next and the old. And I believe that these planetary transits and this sacred eclipse portal, the sacred timing of this eclipse, is guiding us into the new earth. And I believe it's coming to a head in that second new moon at the 29th degree of Virgo. Certain teachers or energy channelers or guides that I follow often talk about this time on earth being one where we all get to become ascended masters. I would maybe describe it differently and say that our potential, our ability to access self-mastery is sharper and brighter and more available than it's ever been. The way I like to say it and talk about it is that we are the ancestors that our ancestors have been waiting for. This is the definition of new leadership, the power within. This is the most sacred time possibly to ever be alive on this earth. And I'm doing this and I'm talking about this because I know it's been a tough year. Personally, it's been a gut-wrenching year. I've been flattened over and over and over again. And I've been accessing more of my higher self and my soul aspects than I ever knew possible. So, what do I want to say? I want to give everyone a deep and powerful and profound blessing to have the courage to see themselves more clearly, to see their mastery, experience their mastery more clearly, and also to have the courage to let go of what needs to go. This Virgo eclipse season in September is really about shedding the routines, right? Virgo's the perfectionist, the routines, the unconscious patterns or behaviors, the way that we're keeping ourselves small. We have big shoes to fill, our higher self. And so I'm blessing you all with the courage to shed and release what needs to go, to trust the process. The way I've been hearing this eclipse season is it's a cease and desist order to stop trying or stop moving forward in the old way, to really truly surrender to my higher self and a higher power. And I wish that all for you. Eclipses are an important time to surrender. They are not a time actually to seed new ideas or beginnings. They're just a time to watch. It is a time for beginnings and endings, but more to pay attention, to not force anything, to not try and take control. It's like the Chariot card in the tarot. We don't have the reins, and it's better. I don't know if better is the right word. It's more adventurous and more mysterious and more uncertain, but more magical in that way. I'm wishing you a sacred Virgo season. I'm wishing you a sacred eclipse season. I'm wishing you a beautiful sacred Shana Tova, the new year of all the new years. And pay attention to the number 9. Some of you have that as a life path number. I know for me, September 9th in the 9 year, 999 is going to be an important one. It really is the ending before the beginning. And I think the most beautiful expression of that is that this powerful new moon across the final degree of the final sign of the zodiac is a new moon after all. And all endings are beginnings. So I think that there are many blessings to come. I wish you infinite illumination, infinite courage, infinite blessings. Have a really, really beautiful Virgo season and happy holidays to my Jewish friends.